if you got it, read it. Hey pals, Alicia here. I hope you are doing well. And if you're new here, this is the place where we talk about books. Today I'm here to post my TBR for the If You Got It, Read It reading challenge. So If You Got It, Read It is a year-long reading challenge that is hosted by Megan and Sue at Spine Breakers. I will link their channel and their announcement video below. And this is just a year-long reading challenge that is designed to help you read your books that you have on your shelf at the beginning of the year. So I love that. I'm all about reading what I own because I have a huge TBR. So there are 24 reading prompts and you just fill in books that meet those prompts based on things that you actually own already, and then hopefully throughout the course of the year you check off those books as you read them and you will have at least read 24 books off of your shelf at the end of the year. So that sounds amazing to me. So I will go through the 24 reading challenges and then the 24 books that I hope to read for it, and then hopefully at the end of 2021 I can reflect back on this video and say, congratulations Alicia, you actually did something that you set out to do. So that's my wishful thinking for a year from now, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I am thoroughly excited about all of these challenges and for all of the books that I plan to read for them. So without further ado, let's just dive in and chat about those books. The first reading challenge is to read a book that you've had on a TBR in the past. And I have had Out by Natsuo Kirino on myriad TBRs. For some reason, I just keep not reading this book and it's a problem, and so I'm hoping that 2021 will fix it because I am genuinely super excited to read this. This is a Japanese thriller that is about a group of women who band up together, form a bit of a gang, and exact each other's revenges together. So teamwork, girls doing it for themselves, and I can't wait. This has been on past TBRs and hopefully will be on future TBRs that I read. A book that you have had forever, but for some reason just won't get rid of. And for that is The White Bone by Barbara Gowdy. I have had this on my TBR for years. I don't even remember when it was added to my TBR. But this is a book about a family of elephants. And that sounds wonderful to me. And my mom was the one who said that this was amazing and that I should read it. And so I don't really know that much more about it other than it's about an elephant, a family of elephants, and that just sounds precious and like something I want to read. So hopefully 2021's the year. Not a typical novel. So for this one, we're going short story collections. We are going How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. This is a science fiction, fantasy, speculative fiction short story collection. I have previously read the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Absolutely loved it. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, blew me away. So reading some short stories by her is definitely aligns with my interests. The largest book on your TBR, or a book that is over 500 pages. And so darn it folks, it's A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. I previously mentioned this in a video as a book that has been on my shelf for a while and that I wasn't sure if I was ever gonna read, because this just seems like a dramatically torturous read. I have everybody who I hear that has read it has also perished in some form. So I wasn't sure if I was ever going to read it, but here we go. It happened to be the longest book on my TBR. So rip me, I guess. And 2021 is gonna be sad. your shortest book, or a book that is under 200 pages. The shortest book on my shelf is The House on Abigail Lane by Keelan Patrick Burke. This is a novella that is only 95 pages, so this is a nice little treat after a little life. And this is written kind of like a true account of this house, where the house on Abigail Lane, where everybody who goes in it and goes upstairs mysteriously disappears. So this is kind of written as a comprehensive account of the Abigail house phenomenon. A collection of eyewitness accounts, news reports, scientific research, and parapsychological investigations. So this is a fiction horror novella mimicking one of those like spooky true crime accounts of a spooky house. So yes, please. A borrowed book. So for this one, I don't actually have any books on my shelf right now that I have borrowed either from friends, family, or even the library, but I do frequently visit those like free little libraries around my community. So I feel like I have books from there that technically I've borrowed from the library, but like if they're books that I like I'm not giving them back. I'm keeping them. So for this one, I have picked The Break by Katharina Vermette. I found this in one of the free little libraries around my house. And this is a fiction, contemporary fiction, family drama that is about a young Métis mother who looks out her window one day and she sees some sort of event happen on this place called The Break, which is this like barren field outside of her home. And then this novel then like a multi-perspective narrative that's fleshing out the events and perspectives leading up to this event on The Break. And I heard about this from Thunderbird Woman Reads. She said that this is a very powerful story of female Indigenous resilience, and it's also like a family saga talking about the power of family, and this just sounds incredibly powerful, moving, and it was a really awesome find for me to find. Next up, we've got Cover By, and so for this one, I have We Ride Upon Sticks by Quan Berry, and I don't exclusively buy books because of their covers, but I will admit that this cover had me interested before I even knew what the book was about. And then when I did know what it was about, I definitely still wanted to read it. This is set in a town in Massachusetts, I believe in the 80s. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, in 1989, and we are following a group of girls who play field hockey, but then also practice witchcraft. This is compared to the Heathers on the Dust Jacket, and that just sounds incredible. I think I've heard pretty mixed things about this, but I feel like I'm gonna love this. A book that was recommended to me, and so for this one, I have Version Control by Dexter Palmer. A friend of mine read this, and he absolutely loved it and said that I needed to read it, so I'm going to do that. This is about a woman named Rebecca, and she's kind of at this point in her life where she feels like the world around her is just weird, like something isn't right, something is going wrong, and her husband is obsessed with this device that he has been working on called the causality violation device, aka a time machine, and he is obsessed with it because he can't get it to work. He can't make this machine work. But I feel like maybe the whole point of this is that this time machine actually has worked, and then something is going on. So time machine, time loop stories, absolutely love it. And then also like exploring the relationship between these two people. I feel like this is going to have great character development, a great emotional hook, while also talking about time travel, time loops. I love them. Next is a cover that reminds me of my favorite season. And this one is the Saturday Night Ghost Club by Craig Davidson. And this one's a bit strange because this cover really gives me fall vibes, and fall is my favorite season. So I picked this one based on the cover reminding me of fall, but this book is actually set in the summer. So I just find that a bit strange. Like, this cover does not remind me of summer at all. But this is set in summer in the 80s, following a group of boys who are in the Saturday Night Ghost Club, where they travel around their town to investigate otherworldly occurrences. So it sounds really cute. I have never read anything by Craig Davidson published as Craig Davidson. Craig Davidson is also Nick Cutter. So I have read a lot of Nick Cutter pseudonym books, but I haven't read anything by Craig Davidson, which I believe is his actual name. So I'm hoping this is great, and the cover reminds me of fall. A book from my most owned genre. So my most owned genre is definitely horror. So for this one, I will be reading Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a Gothic horror novel set in the 50s about a haunted house, and that just sounds fabulous. I have heard such mixed things about this, but based on everything that I've heard, I think I will be in the camp of absolutely loving it. I have that feeling, and I really want to read this one soon while it is still very fresh and hyped in my mind. A book that I've had so long that I no longer remember what it's about. And for this one, that is The Devil of Nanking by Mo Hader. I've had this book on my shelf for a couple of years now, and I no longer remember what it's about. And I feel like this prompt has given me permission to not look up what it's about. Just so that I can go into it completely having no preconceived ideas about it at all. I do know that this is like a crime mystery novel, and I believe it is set in Tokyo. And that's all I know. And I think I've also heard that it is quite brutal and violent. So I'm in for a surprise with The Devil of Nanking. A book by one of my favorite authors. So for this one, I have picked A Collapse of Horses by Brian Evanson. Brian Evanson is an author that I discovered in 2020. I absolutely love him. I absolutely love his work. So I am making my way through his catalog of works. And A Collapse of Horses is a short story collection. So Brian Evanson, yay. Short stories, yay. Horror, yay. His stories, his writing usually lends itself more to the like psychological edges of horror, where you kind of follow these characters who are like have insidious and like seedy intents, or who are suffering from paranoia, fear. They're usually very kind of like disturbed and disturbing stories. So I am thrilled to go take another peek into the twisted mind of Brian Evanson, an author I've never read before. So for this one, I've got The Between by Tananarive. This is a psychological horror from 1995, and in this we are following a man named Hilton, who as a child narrowly escaped drowning. He was saved by his grandmother from drowning, and now 30 years later, he is married to the first African-American judge in this state that they live in, and she has started to receive really horrific and racist hate mail, and is essentially being stalked in an extremely sinister and disturbing way. And Hilton begins having these nightmares that are, I believe, going back to his childhood, but then dealing with what him and his family are dealing with in real life. This promises to be a psychological horror, and psychological horror is one of the kind of genres of horror that really freaks me out. And this also seems like it has a lot of social commentary weaved in it as well. So I am excited to check out Tananarive. Most recently acquired, and as of today, the most recently acquired book that I have is No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. This is a huge 600+ page horror novel about a woman who rents a room in a new house, and it's possibly haunted and scary. I heard about this from Jordaline Reads. She said that this book freaked her right the heck out, so I am really excited about that. And I will admit, horror with kind of like haunted houses I really love the vibe and like the atmosphere of a haunted house, but I never really get spooked by haunted houses for some reason. So I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to get my creep on from a spooky house where no one gets out alive. A book from the decade that you were born. So I was born in 1988, and so the book that I have picked for this is Beloved by Toni Morrison, which was originally published in 1987. Beloved is a horror-adjacent historical fiction novel. In this, we are set in Ohio just after the Civil War, and we are following a Black woman named Seth who very narrowly escaped slavery and is absolutely haunted by this experience. So this is kind of a first-person exploration of that time, of that perspective. I have heard that this is absolutely incredible and powerful and haunting, and I am really looking forward to reading this soon. I have only previously read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and that blew my mind, so I am very excited to read more from her. Read a book from the last decade. So for this one, I have picked Birdie by Tracy Lindbergh. This is a contemporary fiction novel from 2015. And in this, we are following a Cree woman named Birdie, who is traveling from her home in northern Alberta, traveling to Gibson, BC, on a bit of a vision quest in search for home, family, and understanding. I heard about this from Thunderbird Woman Reads, and it sounds absolutely incredible. I am really excited to dive into this experience. Read a nonfiction book. So for this one, I have The Inconvenient Indian by Thomas King. This is a curious account of Native people in North America. I've had this on my TBR for a bit, and this one's been calling to me lately, so I'm really excited to get to this one in 2021. And I've heard that the audiobook for this is amazing, so I think I will be listening to this one on audio. Read a book with a one-word title. So for this one, we have Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. This is a multi-generational historical fiction story. We are set in the early 20th century, and we are following a Korean family traveling from Korea to Japan. And I believe this spans decades, it spans generations. I've heard it's an incredible coming-of-age story, multi-generationally, and I am really excited to read this one. I've heard nothing but good things about it. A book that I meant to read last year. So you could just plop any book in here, but the one that I have picked for this is These Violent Delights by Micah Namaravir. I picked this one because I bought it brand new. I bought it hardcover because I was so excited to read it. And then, of course, I didn't. And the reason why I didn't is because I have this thing with books that I think I'm gonna love and that I never actually read them. This is a dark academia story that has been compared to The Secret History in like a Hitchcockian way. It sounds incredible. We're set in the 70s and following two men who go to university, Paul and Julian. They meet each other, and then their relationship becomes this like obsession-fueled, volatile, toxic relationship. So a toxic relationship between two men in university in the 70s. Sounds fantastic. I'm really excited to see where this goes, and I really plan to read this in 2021. A random book from your TBR. So for this one, I've just randomly picked The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories by Ken Liu. This is a science fiction, fantasy, speculative fiction short story collection. Love it. What more could you want? What more could you ask for? I have it on good authority that this is amazing. I've heard from friends that this is incredible and that I will love it. So I'm thinking I will. A book that reminds me of someone. And so for this one, I hope this isn't creepy, but the book I have picked for this is The Cipher by Kathy Koja, because I can't think about this book without thinking about Alex from Hey Little Thrifter, because she loves this book and she talks about this book all the time, and it is because of her gushing about The Cipher that I picked it up. So this book reminds me of Alex. And this is about a couple that move into a home of some sort, I believe, and they find this mysterious hole that when they put things in it, they come back out changed. So it's like a psychological and body horror of obsession about this strange, mysterious hole. Dimensional hole of sorts. An unhyped book or an underhyped book. So this prompt gives me a bit of pause because I am not an authority of what is hyped. Like I feel like I am quite out of touch with what is popular. So I feel like if I pick a book for this, it could be like the most hyped book and I've just never heard of it. But for this one, I have specifically picked a book that when I found it for the first time, I had never heard of it before, which was just a really exciting experience for me, and that is Vanishing Monuments by John Elizabeth Stinzy. I found this in a bookshop. It called to me from across the room, and when I looked at it, it was like meeting something I had never heard of before, and I was thrilled. And Vanishing Monuments is a contemporary family drama. We are following a person named Alani. They are a non-binary photographer, and they have just become aware that their mother has a severe declining dementia, and they are going to return home for the first time in 30 years after running away as a teenager, both to kind of tie up some loose ends, but then also hoping to find some sort of closure in that difficult relationship that they have with their mother. And this just seems like it's going to be absolutely gutting and like an exploration of grief and trauma and a perspective that I'm really curious to read more about. And I have not heard anything about this, and I hope I love it. Let someone else choose a book from your shelf. So for this one, I asked Josh to come out here and just like pick a book from my shelf. I kind of thought he was gonna look around and like intentionally pick a book, but he just like walked up and like randomly snatched a book, and that book was The Return by Rachel Harrison, which I'm not mad about because I really want to read this. This is a horror book that is about a girl that goes missing, and then I don't know if it's years or months later, but all of a sudden she returns. And I believe this is a supernatural horror because when she comes back, something is wrong. Her friends, like, it's obviously her, but her friends are just like, she is very different than what happened then before she left. What's going on? Is this like PTSD? Is it trauma? Or has something else come back and not our friend? I have heard incredibly polarizing things about it, and I have no idea where I will land. So I really want to read this and see what's what. And finally, the last, if you got it, read it, reading prompt is to read a 5-star prediction. And so I just filmed a 5-star prediction video. I will link that here. So I'm just picking one at random from that list. And the book that I have picked is Not That Bad, edited by Roxane Gay. This is an anthology essay collection that compiles a bunch of first-person experiences of people who have dealt with sexual assault in some way. And this anthology collection came out right around the Me Too movement, and this is kind of an exploration of survivors of assault, but then also above and beyond the physical assault, the kind of belittling and harassment that some people face just by virtue of talking about it and speaking out about it and calling out abuse. I have heard that this is really difficult, but then also is quite intersectional in the perspectives that are shown here. And so I think that this is going to be incredible and like deeply upsetting, but also, you know, powerful conversations to have. So there you have it, pals. There are 24 books that I've got and that I should read. If I got it, read it. So I just want to thank again Megan and Sue for hosting this reading challenge. This is like an awesome way to make reading the books on my shelf fun, and then also to like meet again and fall in love with the books that I picked up at some point for some reason. I love interacting with the books on my shelves. So let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought. Let me know if you want to read any of them, and maybe throughout the course of 2021 we can read them together. I love buddy reading, so let me know if any of these books sound interesting to you so we can read them together. So thanks again for being here, pals. I absolutely love talking about books. with you all. Take care out there, stay safe, stay spooky, and until next time, see you, pals!